This woman's obedience to him jumped to 20. Let her continue deceiving herself. He wasn't worried at all. We've already reached 1/5 of the progress. The remaining 4/5 seem far off, but we can already look forward to it. Perseus was still trying to be stubborn, but what about the dancing last night? To reward one's comrades who have shared life and death. I've heard that gangs like them, who are known for their recklessness, use their bodies to soothe each other in order to relieve immense psychological pressure and vent their frustrations. When can this be arranged? But speaking too soon could lead to endless trouble, so he had no choice but to remain silent. Put me down, I'll change my clothes, and then we'll go to the cafeteria for breakfast together. Why can't I go by myself? Do you have money? Ivaisa behaved herself. One sentence can end the game. Having financial control is truly advantageous. Perseus, full of self-satisfaction, picked up his school uniform and went into the bathroom, then came out just as smugly. Although Ivaisa disapproved of his behavior, she could only watch. That familiar look of looking at trash again. After eating in the cafeteria, the two walked towards the classroom, one in front of the other. They arrived early and found seats. People came in one after another. No matter how noisy they were before, they couldn't even speak once they entered the classroom, as if there was a powerful field of silence suppressing all sound. Then Helen also entered the classroom. Usually, this is when the students are most excited. They will blush and rush to greet Helen, and the lucky ones will receive a response from Helen. Then the lucky ones were smug, the unlucky ones were wailing in pain, and the classroom was in complete chaos. But this time, even though Helen Een appeared as cute as ever, even her most devoted fans simply followed her movements with their eyes without making a sound. She clearly knew about Ivaisa's enrollment, so she wasn't surprised to see her and instead walked towards them. Their classrooms are like university lecture halls, with no assigned seats. You can sit wherever you want. Perseus used to be very low-key, always sitting in the back corner, which had almost become his exclusive area, but today there was another classmate there. Correction, there are two. Helen walked over and naturally sat in the empty seat next to Perseus, smiling and greeting him. Good morning, Perseus. I hope you have a good day. Now that I'm forced to have two women on either side, it's impossible for me to be in a bad mood. Perseus only showed Helen the most basic courtesy before lying down on the table and falling asleep. Her head was tilted more towards Ivaisa. Didn't you sleep well last night? Helen Een touched his head without any hesitation. Perseus's hair stood on end. What did he do to deserve this? Just thinking about this scheming woman's nature made it impossible for even him to enjoy her, so he simply ignored her. There's a limit to making a fool of yourself. So Helen stopped, but leaned close to his ear. Don't think you can get away with this by giving me the silent treatment. You've treated me like this yesterday, and today, you have to take responsibility. Shouldn't we pay a price? Was she saying something ambiguous on purpose? Bad woman. Chapter 20. Welcome, the new students. No matter how much Helen tried to provoke him, Perseus remained unmoved. After a while, Helen got bored, but she didn't let Perseus off easily. Instead, she lay down on the table and stared at him with an extremely resentful look. Perseus glanced at her reaction briefly, and goosebumps immediately covered his entire body. She's really something. Helen remained lying down, smiling smugly, her eyes crinkling. In the eerie silence, the school bell rang. Perseus looked up and saw Winnie leading a small wolf-eared girl into the classroom. As soon as Luna entered the classroom, she looked around curiously, as if searching for something. Suddenly, she met Perseus's gaze, and her ears immediately perked up. Perseus! Luna shouted excitedly. She leaped up and jumped onto the desks, running across them one after another, even over the heads of her classmates, finally stopping in front of Perseus. She squatted on his desk like a puppy, her eyes wide open, almost sticking out her tongue. The white wolf's tail behind it seemed to be wagging like a fan. Were you wearing safety shorts? But it's amazing that such an enthusiastic little dog can resist rubbing its head. Perseus satisfied her thoroughly. Luna was still a little angry because of Perseus's sudden departure last night, but this slap on the head made her forgive the man instantly. Luna smiled and rubbed her face against Perseus's palm. Then she was shocked to find that the spots on either side of Perseus were occupied by other females. Hello, Miss Luna. Helen greeted her warmly. You, anyone move aside, because I'm going to sit next to Perseus. Luna grinned, glaring at them menacingly. There was a wall right next to Ivaisa, so she had nowhere to move even if she wanted to. Besides, she didn't intend to let her have it. Helen Een showed no intention of yielding, even though her smile was gentler and kinder than anyone else's. Enraged that they dared to disobey her, Luna's teeth and nails suddenly turned as sharp as steel blades, ready to show them the power of a werewolf. "That's easy. You could just sit here." Perseus calmly picked her up and placed her on his lap. Luna was taken aback, but she liked the spot. It was soft and warm, though something was pressing against her bottom, and it was a little uncomfortable, but she could bear it. Luna. Winnie, who was originally going to be introduced to her, was left standing on the podium. The other students also looked over, their eyes wide with astonishment. "What?" Luna frowned as she looked at her. "You're new to our class, and you haven't even introduced yourself yet," Perseus said in a low voice. "Oh, I should introduce myself. Luna nodded. She cleared her throat and announced in a very loud voice. "My name is Luna. From today onwards, I'm the boss of this class. You all have to listen to me obediently. Anyone who dares to disobey will be beaten to a pulp." She glared fiercely at Winnie. "So what if you're a homeroom teacher? Even if you are, you have to listen to me. If you don't like it, I'll beat you until you cry." Winnie had never seen a student like this before, whether in school or as a teacher, but she really couldn't get angry. The principal had previously warned her not to stoop to the girl's level. People come here to have fun. They weren't magic teachers to her, but nursery school teachers. Should I stoop to her level? If you hit her, you can't escape responsibility. He deserved to be hit by her. Who can blame them when their admission was granted by special permission from the emperor? Their connections are bigger than the sky. Everyone must get along well with Luna and avoid any conflicts. If anything happens, don't try to solve it yourself. Always report it to the teacher immediately. Winnie was exhausted. Although these aristocratic students were young and impetuous, they came from distinguished backgrounds. Even if they were spoiled brats and good-for-nothings, they still had the ability to read people's expressions and assess situations. If someone were particularly foolish, they would still dare to clash with Luna after all this. Let's hope no one dies. Winnie had wanted Ivisa to introduce herself as well, but she was already seated, and it was somewhat unnecessary, because everyone in the school knows her. Let's begin the lesson. The Imperial Magic Academy has a wide variety of complex courses, but when it comes to magic, effort is nothing compared to talent. Without talent, no matter how hard you try, you won't make any progress, and you won't even be able to understand the most basic theoretical knowledge. The college is quite lenient about this and will not be harsh on students. This academy is the best magic academy in the entire Western continent. Whether it is the teaching staff or other educational resources, it is top-notch. The core members of the academy, if mobilized, would form a magic army capable of sweeping across the Western continent and should not be underestimated. Many people didn't even qualify for admission, but the emperor, in order to show favor to the nobles, admitted any noble children who had even a little bit of magical ability. Most of them could only sightsee in the capital, becoming stepping stones and backdrops for other noble children or magical geniuses, before returning to their hometowns 4 years later to follow their parents' arrangements and become nothing more than country bumpkins ridiculed by the capital's aristocratic circles. These are all things that everyone could foresee. Dragons have their way, and rats have their way. If it were so easy to defy fate, it wouldn't be such a thrilling topic that everyone talks about. Perseus found the lectures like listening to gibberish. He could understand each word individually, but when put together, he had no idea what they meant. The barriers to magical talent are more brutal than learning mathematics in my past life. If you really can't do math, you can at least write down a solution, but with this kind of thing, there's nowhere to write down the solution. On the podium, Winnie diligently explained various magical theories. Some people below the podium seemed thoughtful, some looked confused, and some were even lulled to sleep. Perseus used to stare blankly at those symbols and ancient languages like an illiterate man. After realizing he couldn't understand them at all, he simply began to admire his teacher. Occasionally, when Winnie gets excited while talking, her movements become a bit more vigorous, and her large breasts will tremble along with them, which is why he doesn't want to go to sleep. But now things are different. He has obtained 1/5 of Ivisa's stats, including 1/5 of her magical talent. Then he was surprised to find that he was like a person who had been blind for a long time suddenly regaining his sight, and the whole world had become a different place in front of him. It's a bit like a mediocre student suddenly becoming a top student, but the feeling of satisfaction is much stronger. Even a little girl with animal ears sitting on your lap doesn't feel as good in comparison. Can you understand? Helene asked, resting her chin on her hand and staring at him with great interest. Just a little bit. But the brightness in your eyes just now was clearly more than just a little bit. This wicked woman still doesn't understand him at all. His eyes always lit up when he looked at pretty girls, regardless of whether he understood the lesson or not. Luckily, I was able to understand more of what was being taught in this lesson. But this lesson is clearly about the very difficult Old Sativ language. If you can understand this, there's no reason why you can't understand the other lessons, Helen said. And you've always submitted blank papers for your theory assignments and performed poorly in your practical lessons. I've done my best, Perseus said. He really tried his best. If he doesn't know how, he just doesn't know how. What can you do? Even if those bookworms without talent spend every day in the library and memorize all the books in the library, they will never be able to improve their magic power by even a fraction. If you have to blame someone, blame it on the fact that he wasn't in a fantasy/martial arts novel. In those kinds of novels, it doesn't matter if someone is a loser. A single elixir can cleanse their body and soul. This kind of person is really messed up. All their talents are just what they were born with. They can't be good or bad. Doesn't that dog of an emperor want to ruin Ivais's talent? No matter how powerful and confident he is, who would want a magical genius to be someone who hates them? But he just couldn't do it. Even if he is the most powerful person in the entire Western continent, with a large number of high-level mages under his command. Unless you kill her. But if we kill her, how can we convince those nobles, who are already terrified, that the dog emperor hasn't turned into a mad dog emperor who bites people indiscriminately? It is said that there were treasures in ancient times that could enhance magical talent, but unfortunately they have long been lost, and people of later generations can only sigh in vain. Luna in my arms was fast asleep, drool was dripping from her mouth, she looked like she was blind too. However, some demi-humans do not need to rely on magic. They can contend with powerful magicians using only their physical bodies. For example, Kuta recently killed the 6th-tier Grand Mage of that small country in close combat, and even pulled the old man's head off. They are not ordinary werewolves. Their distinctive white hair and red eyes are descended from an ancient monster that rivaled dragons. Legend has it that this monster was immune to all magic, and only the most ordinary sword could cut off its head. But how could such swords possibly stop the monster's claws? Therefore, they were almost invincible. In the end, they perished because their killings angered the gods, and they were wiped off the earth by a giant hand from the heavens. This is yet another legend. Does a god exist in this world? Not the artificial god that religious charlatans talk about? Yes, there really is. But this is a taboo secret. Very few people in the world know about it. That level is too far removed from Perseus's current understanding, and he doesn't want to think about it too much. Now he's thinking, since it was agreed that there would be more than one transfer student, besides Luna, who is the other one? And why hasn't that person shown up yet? As fate would have it, just as I was pondering this, there was a knock on the classroom door. Winnie walked over and opened the classroom door. Mellifera, dressed in a blue and white school uniform, stood at the classroom door like an angel suddenly descending. Everyone was instantly drawn to her beautiful face. Even Luna, who was fast asleep, was awakened by a mysterious force and rubbed her eyes. Perseus, stop bothering me. I can't sleep. Helen and Ivaisa both turned their gaze away from Mirafara and switched to staring at the scumbag, gazing at the serious-looking Perseus. He just couldn't help himself. It wasn't intentional. The uniforms of the Imperial Magic Academy are always very nice, especially the girls' uniforms, with fitted tops and short skirts. Anyone who sees them knows how good they are. As someone with a penchant for uniforms, he found it hard to resist seeing a stunning beauty like Millifala engaging in uniform seduction. Now it seems she's just another transfer student. But why? Her younger brother Jerome is in 3rd grade, but she, as the older sister, is in 1st grade? It's really baffling. Winnie led Mirafara to the podium and solemnly introduced her. This is Princess Mirafara, the first princess from the kingdom of Infero. She will be studying with this class from now on, and I hope everyone can get along well with her. Mellifera bowed gracefully. Hello, everyone. I am Mellifera. Please don't treat me like a princess, just like an ordinary girl. Please take good care of me. After saying that, she smiled gently, and suddenly a warmer sun appeared in the classroom. She has a distinguished status, stunning looks, and most importantly, she's incredibly approachable. No one could refuse to have such a female classmate. The applause was thunderous and lasted for a long time, especially from the boys, who were staring at Mirafara as if they were in a daze, even more so than when Helen Ean struck up a conversation with them. Helen narrowed her eyes, her smile vanishing without her noticing. Turning boys into idiots is clearly her area of expertise. So how can she allow an outsider to show off her